Hi and welcome to my channel. My name is Carsten and I talk about music, mainly about re-establishing my lost music collection. But in this video it's my top 15 releases in 2022, and it's my releases. You might not agree with me, but this is my list of the best albums I bought released in 2022, and the first one here is Imperial Age Songs of Power. The reason for it that it's number 15 is that it's a compilation of songs from the previous albums plus 2 songs from the album they released later that year, which were I Shall Find My Home and The Way Is the Aim. Secondly, they had a single that's called Demons Are a Girl's Best Friend that also is on this album. So it was a good way to get into Imperial Age, and it's my number 15. Now this one is my number 14, and Only the Strong Survive is Bruce Springsteen. It's a cover album, and normally I dislike covers a lot because I always think that the original is better, but I really like this one because the way that Bruce Springsteen performs them is quite good, and he is a typical Bruce Springsteen album in a way. What I think is, or reason is that I actually got it very late in December, so I've only listened to it twice. It might grow on me, but at the moment it's number 14 of 2022. Now the next one I got is Marillion, An Hour Before It's Late. It's very seldom that bands get to release 20 studio albums, but this is the one, and it's a follow-up on Fuck Everyone and Run, or called Fear, from 2016. They have this uncompromising music and lyrics, and I think that this album also is bringing Marillion back into people's mind, so to speak. So it's a remarkable release from a remarkable band, Marillion's An Hour Before It's Dark. So now we are at number 13, Freedom by Journey. First album since the latest release called Eclipse that came out, if I remember correctly, in 2011. So it took them 11 years to get here. Many people think that Journey is not the same. No, Steve Perry, the band, and a couple of other founding members are no longer there. But still, it's a great album. I liked it a lot. It has this typical mix, but from Journey with rock music and ballads, and it's really a great album. Number 12 was Journey, Freedom. Now I better get up here so you can see it. Kansas 50 years anniversary triple CD. Looks like this. That is my number 11. It's called Another Fork in the Road, 50 Years of Kansas. And if you go through these 3 CDs, it actually starts with a new song called Can I Tell You from 2022. And then you go back through the albums, Absence of Presence, Prelude Implicit, Somewhere to Elsewhere, Always is Never the Same, and Freaks of Nature. And then you're back in 1995. You go into the second CD, and you go to Drastic Measures, you get Violent Confessions, Audio Visions, Monolith, Power. So that ends with 1979. And then you have the third CD, which is, well, for many people, their prime, from 74 to 78, where you had Point of No Return, Leftoverture, Mask, Song for America, and their self-titled back in 1974, and that's it. And you get the performance by the band that played them at that time. So it's you have both Steve Walsh, but you also got Ronnie Platt on from the latest albums. The reason I, as a huge Kansas fan, doesn't put it up there is because I've heard everything before except the first track, but it's still something as a Kansas fan you need to have in your collection. So Kansas, Another Fork in the Road, 50 years of Kansas, recommendable. Now I got to number 10, and that is Swedish guys, Flower Kings. Here you can see another double album from Flower Kings by Royal Decree. It's called, and it's a great album. It's a little bit different if you compare it with Islands that came out 2 years ago, or was it 1 year? Anyhow, the difference is that normally you have these long epic songs on Flower Kings, but here the longest tracks is 7 minutes and 12 seconds, which is a little bit unusual for the band. But again, it's a great album. I liked it a lot. And it's my number 10, Flower Kings by Royal Decree. Now, my number 9 is Jethro Tull, this Seal It Gene. This is one album I got again end of the December. Actually, I was in the shop and bought Bruce Springsteen, and when I passed, I found this was €6, so there was no hesitation. I grabbed it immediately. So after 20 years of no Jethro Tull albums, this one was a little bit of a surprise. But again, it's Jethro Tull as you remember them. You have this mixture between folk music and progressive rock, and it's great. I know that Ian Anderson no longer has the voice that he had back in the days, but still it's a real great album, and I really enjoyed it. And because I only had it for a very short time, I have only listened to it twice, so it might grow on me. My number 8 is Fuss Bubble, Cold Stars from Mars. It's really a great power pop, power rock album. I enjoyed it a lot, and I know that the band hasn't actually released anything for the past 20 years. They actually, if I remember right, started out in New York and then moved to California. And it's produced by Jim Bache, and it's also Jim Bache that plays guitars, bass, background vocals, keyboards, and they have a lot of guests here. I can mention that Mike Portnoy plays drums on Blinded by the Light, Dragonfly. I like that song, and the window, sorry. And of course you have his daughter, Melody Portnoy, singing backing vocals on Blinded by the Night, which is the only cover on this album because of the one that Manfred Mann's Earth Band wrote back in the days. But it's a great album. I really enjoyed it, and I think that I hope that it doesn't take them another 20 years before they release the next one. And I actually met Jim Batchy at the SOT Fall Fest in Poughkeepsie, New York, back in October. Now we go to my number 7, which is The Last Great Adventure by British Galahad. It's the 11th studio album from this band, and I had to admit I have never heard about the band until Stephen Reed from Sea of Tranquility mentioned them in on the prog seat. So I was 67 when I heard about these guys first time. Now I really enjoyed it. It's a great album, and it's my release number 7 of 2022. It has 5 songs on it, and then 2 bonus tracks, and it's really a great album. So if you haven't heard Galahad, The Great Adventure, I have already reviewed it, so you can see that in the text below. So Galahad, The Great Adventure is my number 7. Number 6 is Rick Wakeman, The Other Side. Unfortunately, I ordered the album back in November 25th, and it hasn't arrived yet, so I wrote the guys in England and asked where is my CD, and it's got lost in the mail, so they resent it. Hopefully I'll get it in the next few days, but I have listened to it 7, 8, 9 times on Spotify, and that's why I'm saying that Rick Wakeman is my number 6. Then off to number 5. As I mentioned earlier, Imperial did a new album called New World. Came out should have been released in August, but it took a couple other months more. I think I got it in November. It's a great album. If you liked Atlantis, this is as good. You have these 3 vocals, the tenor, the soprano, and the mezzo-soprano. It's just great, and the songs are good, and especially the last track on the CD, Call of the Towers, is a 11-minute epic song. Just great music by the band. Got them here. Imperial Exile Russians had to leave the country because they were opposing the war in Ukraine. So, and it just had a European tour quite successful here in continental Europe, and they're going to UK next month, I think. Now I go to number 4, Robbie Steinert, Not in Kansas Anymore. And you might say, well, Carsten, that is wrong. It was a 21 album, yeah, but in Europe we couldn't get it until January 2022, so I consider this as a 2022 album. And it's a great album. I mean, unfortunately, Robbie Steinert passed away before it was released even in the US, but it's really a great progressive rock music by a legend, and I really enjoy this album, and he's a fantastic violinist and composer. So this is my number 4, Robbie Steinert, Not in Kansas Anymore. Now we are getting into top 3, and my 3rd is Rick Labonte, Living It Up. For a very long time this was my number 1 release of 2022, but it was surpassed by 2 other albums that came out later. Rick Labonte is a double album, Day and Night, and he has also a lot of guest musicians. And if you don't know it, he is playing music that is inspired by Uriah Heep, Deep Purple, even Beatles. And some of these guest musicians were Russell Gilbrook and David Rimmer from Uriah Heep. And he had Jeff Burrows from the Tea Party, and a couple of guys from Guitar Army. So it was really a great album. I still enjoy it. I listen to it frequently because I think it's so good, damn good. But there were 2 albums that surpassed him, and this is still a great album. It might be number 2 or number 1, and right now it's the 3rd best album from 2022. Now I get into number 2, Kickstarter song by Cats in Space. When you had this, you listen here, Cats in Space. When you had the previous album, Atlantis, in mind, you thought this is impossible to surpass. I mean, it's really. Atlantis was a great album, but this one is even better, and I really enjoy this album. And Cats in Space, I hope they so far they only toured in the UK, but I heard that they should be back in Europe here in 2023, and I'll be standing first in line to get a ticket to see them live, because it's just so great music that these guys do. And Cats in Space, I really enjoyed this album. But again, even though it's a fantastic album, one album surpassed it, and this is my number 1, Arena. And it has a title that many people think is hard to pronounce, so I will try it. It's the Theory of Molecular Inheritance. And if you don't know what that is, Louis Nasser has written this explanation here at the end of it. It's again, Arena and Clive Nolan are just performing at their best, and the 11 songs you have on this album is just fantastic. And let's see if I can get that in. I really enjoy this album. Again, it's one that came out quite late, but that is my choice for 2022 as number 1. That is Arena and their Theory of Molecular Inheritance. Thank you for listening and watching this DVD video. And if you haven't subscribed to my channels, please do so by clicking a subscription button. And if you want to know every time I upload something new, please press the bell below. That was all I had for this time. So we'll see you again, hopefully soon. I'm trying to catch up with all the video material I have lying around. So that's it for this time. Thank you and goodbye.